It's crucial to begin by recognizing that in every walk of life, we encounter people who can either elevate our energy or drain it. These individuals, the toxic ones, may not always be easy to recognize at first, but their presence becomes undeniable over time. And here's the thing, smart people, they don't just react to these toxic individuals the way you might expect. They don't engage in the petty back and forths that lead nowhere. They don't get caught up in drama or seek revenge. No, the smart person approaches toxicity with intelligence, patience, and strategic action. This is how they handle these situations, and this is how you should too. First, let's understand what it means to be a toxic person. A toxic person is not just someone who's difficult to deal with now and then. No, toxicity runs deeper. It's the person who consistently brings negativity, chaos, or confusion into your life. They feed off drama, they create division, they belittle your success, and they encourage self-doubt. And they do this with an unrelenting focus on their own needs, without regard for the emotional or mental health of those around them. These are the kinds of people who will sabotage your goals, disrupt your peace, and ultimately take advantage of your kindness. But here's the thing, smart people. They know something important. These toxic people are not the ones that control their life. No, they don't give them that power. They're aware of the harm that can come from letting someone else's negativity take root in their own world. And they understand that fighting fire with fire only makes things worse. One thing that smart people do is set boundaries. They don't give toxic people a free pass into their lives. They don't allow themselves to be manipulated or dragged into situations where they know they'll be emotionally and mentally drained. Boundaries are not just about saying no to toxic people, they're about saying yes to yourself, saying yes to your well-being, your peace, your sanity. Smart people recognize that they don't have to be available to every single person who demands their time or energy. They choose who they interact with carefully, based on the impact that relationship will have on their lives. And let me tell you, a toxic person will never have the power to cross that boundary if you know how to protect yourself. It's not just about saying no to what doesn't serve you, it's about saying yes to your own mental and emotional health. Smart people understand that every second they give to someone toxic is a second stolen from something or someone that brings them growth, joy, or peace. When you choose to spend time with a toxic person, you're giving up your peace, and once you give that up, it's a lot harder to get back. So they make a conscious effort to avoid people who demand their emotional resources without offering anything in return. But sometimes we can't avoid toxic people altogether. They may be in your family, your workplace, or even in your social circle. And when that happens, smart people know it's crucial to limit the emotional energy they invest in these relationships. Smart people don't engage in every argument or confrontation. They choose their battles wisely. They don't waste their time trying to change someone who's determined to stay the same. They don't waste their energy arguing with someone who refuses to listen. Instead, they save their emotional energy for the things that really matter. You see, it's not about avoiding conflict altogether, but about knowing when conflict is worth the effort and when it's simply draining. Now, you may be wondering, how do smart people handle it when they can't avoid the toxic person? That's when their next move comes into play. They take a step back and evaluate the situation. They assess the toxic person's behavior without letting their emotions cloud their judgment. They ask themselves, why is this person acting this way? Is it insecurity? Is it fear? Is it a lack of emotional intelligence? Smart people don't take the toxicity personally. They realize that toxic people are often reflecting their own inner turmoil. Toxicity is rarely about the person it's being directed at. It's almost always a reflection of what's going on inside the toxic person themselves. This doesn't mean they let that person off the hook, but it means they don't internalize the negativity. Smart people don't carry someone else's emotional baggage. They don't wear someone else's pain like a badge of honor. No, they understand that they are responsible for their own emotional state. They choose not to let toxic people control their mood, their day, or their life. They refuse to give them the power to affect their peace. When dealing with toxic people, it's also important to remember that smart people maintain a sense of empathy. They understand that the toxic person might be going through struggles of their own. They may have experienced pain, trauma, or hardship that's caused them to act out in harmful ways. But here's the thing, empathy doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior. Empathy doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. Empathy means understanding that their behavior is likely rooted in their own internal struggles, but still setting the boundaries necessary to protect yourself. Smart people don't enable toxic behavior. They don't justify poor behavior because they feel sorry for the person. Instead, they choose to distance themselves when necessary and make it clear that they won't stand for mistreatment. And if they do engage, they do so with grace and wisdom. They don't retaliate or stoop to the toxic person's level. They respond calmly with measured words, always remembering that they are in control of how much emotional energy they give to the situation. There's another important lesson that smart people understand when it comes to dealing with toxic individuals. Not all battles are worth fighting, and not all toxic people deserve your attention. Some toxic people thrive on attention, even negative attention. They want you to react. They want you to engage. They want to provoke you. And smart people know that the best way to deal with this is to not give them that satisfaction. They don't take the bait. They don't play the game. They walk away from the situation without feeding the toxicity. When a toxic person tries to provoke a reaction, smart people don't rise to the occasion. They don't get emotional. They don't engage in the back and forth that will only end in frustration. Instead, they remain calm, collected, and unmoved. They know that the more you react, the more control you give to the other person. And smart people don't give their power away so easily. They keep their composure, remain focused on what matters, and walk away without looking back. But let's be clear about something. Being smart doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean being a doormat or allowing toxic people to walk all over you. No, being smart means being assertive in a way that protects your peace while also maintaining your integrity. It means standing up for yourself in a calm, confident, and respectful manner. It means saying no when you need to say no and walking away when you need to walk away. It's about knowing that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion of you, especially a toxic person's opinion. When you're dealing with toxic people, there's another powerful thing that smart people do. They learn how to let go. They don't carry grudges. They don't hang on to anger or resentment. They know that holding on to negative emotions only harms themselves. Toxic people, on the other hand, may try to drag you down with them, but smart people refuse to stay in the mud. They choose to rise above, to let go of the negativity, and to focus on what's positive and empowering. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean that what happened didn't matter. It means you release the emotional hold that the toxic person has over you. It means you stop allowing their actions to control your life and your happiness. When you let go, you free yourself from the burden of toxicity. You make room for better things, better people, and better experiences in your life. Lastly, smart people understand that sometimes the most powerful response to toxic people is to simply walk away. Walking away from a toxic situation doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're afraid. It means you're strong enough to know when to remove yourself from an environment that no longer serves you. It means you value your peace more than you value the approval of someone who's determined to disrupt it. Walking away is often the best way to preserve your energy, protect your mental health, and maintain your integrity. When you choose to walk away from a toxic person, you're making a statement. You're saying that your peace is non-negotiable. You're saying that you won't tolerate mistreatment. You're saying that your happiness is more important than getting into a fight with someone who's determined to make you miserable. And in doing so, you're taking control of your life. You're taking back your power. You're choosing to live a life free from the chaos and negativity that toxic people bring. It's time to recognize that you have the power to protect yourself from toxicity. You have the power to choose who you allow into your life. And when you choose wisely, when you establish healthy boundaries, when you protect your peace, you're not only creating a better life for yourself, you're also setting a powerful example for those around you. You're showing them that it's possible to thrive, even in the face of negativity. You're showing them the best way to deal with toxic people is not to become one yourself, but to rise above the chaos and live with grace, intelligence, and strength. And that, my friends, is how smart people handle toxic people. not with anger, not with revenge, but with wisdom, boundaries, and a strong commitment to their own well-being. They refuse to let anyone else's negativity define their life. They choose to rise above. They choose to stay true to themselves. And in the end, that's what makes them the strongest people in the room. Smart people understand the importance of setting clear boundaries with toxic individuals. They don't allow themselves to be manipulated or drained. By protecting their peace and mental health, they ensure that toxic people cannot take advantage of their time or emotional energy. Instead of reacting impulsively to toxic behavior, smart individuals take a step back and assess the situation. They avoid taking things personally, recognizing that toxic people are often acting from their own internal struggles. They remain calm and composed, addressing the issue without escalating it. Smart people maintain empathy for toxic individuals but don't allow themselves to become enablers of harmful behavior. They understand that toxic actions often come from pain or insecurity but don't tolerate mistreatment. They set limits while being compassionate, avoiding engagement that fosters negativity. Smart people recognize that sometimes the best response to toxicity is to walk away. They refuse to get caught up in drama or retaliate, choosing to preserve their peace and energy. By stepping away from toxic individuals, they prioritize their mental health and make space for positive, enriching relationships. In life, boundaries serve as the invisible line that separates who we are from the external world. They define our limits, our personal space, our emotional energy, and our time. Establishing and protecting boundaries is one of the most important skills a person can develop, particularly when dealing with toxic people. Without boundaries, we risk losing ourselves to the negativity, demands, and manipulation of others. Toxic individuals, whether they are family members, co-workers, or acquaintances, often have no regard for our emotional, mental, or physical well-being. They can be draining, manipulative, and even destructive, and without proper boundaries in place, their behavior can take a serious toll on our lives. Setting boundaries with toxic people is not an act of cruelty or selfishness, it is an act of self-preservation. It is a way of taking control of your life and ensuring that you are not continually overwhelmed or harmed by others. The simple fact is that you cannot control how others behave, but you can control how you respond to their behavior. Boundaries give you the power to decide what you are willing to tolerate and what you will not. They allow you to protect your peace, your energy, and your sense of self-worth. Boundaries come in many different forms. They can be emotional, physical, or psychological. Emotional boundaries protect your feelings from being manipulated or abused by others. They allow you to set limits on how much emotional energy you give to a person, and when it's time to step back and take care of yourself. Physical boundaries protect your personal space and your body from being violated. They help you set limits on how close someone can get to you, both in a physical sense and in terms of your personal time and attention. Psychological boundaries protect your thoughts and mental state from being influenced by toxic people who seek to control or manipulate your thinking. The first step in establishing boundaries with toxic people is recognizing that you have the right to set them. Many of us were raised to be accommodating, to avoid conflict, or to please others. For some, saying no or standing up for themselves feels like an impossible task. But the truth is, setting boundaries is not about being rude, unkind, or uncooperative. It is about being clear, direct, and assertive about what you need to protect your own well-being. It is about understanding that you are worthy of respect and that no one, especially a toxic person, has the right to trample on your peace of mind. When establishing boundaries, it's important to start by identifying what your needs are. What do you need in order to feel safe, respected, and at peace? What are the behaviors or actions of toxic people that cause you distress, anxiety, or harm? These questions are essential because they help you become clear on what boundaries you need to put in place. Without this self-awareness, it's difficult to know what to protect or what to defend. You may not realize how much damage a toxic person is causing until you take a step back and evaluate how their behavior makes you feel. Once you have a clear understanding of your needs and boundaries, it's time to communicate them. Setting boundaries requires communication, and it's essential to do so with clarity and confidence. This is where many people falter, especially when dealing with toxic individuals. They may fear confrontation, worry about upsetting the person, or doubt their right to set limits. However, effective communication is key to protecting yourself. You don't need to apologize for setting boundaries, and you don't need to explain yourself in great detail. You simply need to state what you will and will not tolerate, and then stick to it. For example, if a toxic coworker is constantly interrupting you during meetings or overstepping your space in the office, you can politely but firmly say, "I need you to respect my speaking time in meetings, and I'd appreciate it if you'd allow me to finish before responding." If a family member regularly calls you late at night, draining you emotionally with their problems, you can set the boundary, "I am not available for late night calls. Please respect my time and only reach out during the day unless it's an emergency." The key here is to be clear and firm in your communication. Toxic people thrive on ambiguity, so being direct and assertive makes it harder for them to push your boundaries. Protecting boundaries also means following through with consequences when they are violated. Boundaries are only effective when they are backed by action. If you set a boundary and someone disregards it, it's important to take action to reinforce it. This could mean removing yourself from the situation, limiting contact with the person, or enforcing a clear consequence for their behavior. For instance, if someone repeatedly calls you late at night, despite your request for them to stop, you might need to block their number during late hours or limit your availability. If a toxic friend continues to demand your time despite you telling them you need space, you may have to limit the frequency of your interactions or distance yourself until they respect your needs. Enforcing boundaries requires consistency and resolve. If you let toxic people get away with violating your boundaries, they will continue to do so, and over time, they will become more aggressive in their attempts to push you past your limits. One of the most challenging aspects of establishing and protecting boundaries with toxic people is dealing with guilt. Many of us feel guilty when we say no or stand up for ourselves, particularly when it involves a close family member or a friend. We may worry that we are being selfish or that we are letting the other person down. However, it's crucial to remember that setting boundaries is not about being selfish, it's about self-care. If you continue to allow toxic people to drain your energy and disrespect your limits, you will burn out, and that will only lead to resentment, anxiety, and a lack of personal fulfillment. The truth is that when you take care of yourself, you are in a better position to help others. You can't pour from an empty cup, so protecting your boundaries is an essential act of self-preservation that benefits not only you but also the people around you. Another important aspect of protecting boundaries is learning how to say no. Saying no is one of the most powerful tools in your boundary-setting toolkit, but it can also be one of the hardest to master, especially when dealing with toxic people. Toxic individuals often prey on your inability to say no using guilt, manipulation, or emotional blackmail to get what they want. They may accuse you of being selfish, unkind, or unsupportive when you decline their demands, but it's important to remember that their feelings are not your responsibility. You are not obligated to meet every request, especially if it compromises your well-being. Saying no is not about being rude or dismissive. It's about asserting your right to choose what is best for you. When you say no, you are protecting your time, your energy, and your emotional state. It's a simple but powerful way to reinforce your boundaries. For example, if a toxic person asks you to do something that feels overwhelming or unfair, you can simply say, "I'm not able to do that right now," or "That's not something I'm willing to take on." You don't need to justify your decision or offer an explanation. A simple, firm no is enough. While saying no is essential, it's also important to practice self-compassion. You will likely encounter moments of doubt, guilt, or fear as you begin to set and protect your boundaries. It's natural to feel uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to standing up for yourself. But it's essential to remember that your boundaries are an act of self-respect, not selfishness. You have a right to take care of your emotional and mental health, and setting boundaries is a critical part of that. Over time, you will become more comfortable with asserting your needs, and you will begin to recognize the freedom that comes with being able to protect your peace. Another aspect of boundary protection is knowing when to distance yourself. In some cases, a toxic person may not respect your boundaries no matter how clearly you communicate them. In these situations, it may be necessary to distance yourself from the person entirely. This can be particularly difficult when the toxic person is someone close to you, such as a family member or a longtime friend, but sometimes it's the only way to protect your well-being. Distancing yourself doesn't mean you hate the person or wish them harm. It simply means that you are prioritizing your own health and happiness over the toxic dynamic in your relationship. Distance can take many forms, from limiting the frequency of contact to taking a complete break from the relationship. It's important to understand that distancing yourself is not a punishment for the other person, it's a way of protecting yourself. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, refuses to take responsibility for their actions, or continues to cause harm, it may be necessary to take a step back. By doing so, you are making it clear that you will no longer tolerate toxic behavior, and you are creating space for healthier, more supportive relationships to enter your life. Ultimately, establishing and protecting boundaries is a lifelong process. It requires self-awareness, clear communication, consistency, and a willingness to put your well-being first. While it can be difficult, especially when dealing with toxic people, setting boundaries is one of the most empowering and necessary things you can do for yourself. By protecting your peace, energy, and emotional health, you create space for personal growth, fulfillment, and happiness. And remember, you are not obligated to tolerate mistreatment from anyone. You have the right to live a life free from toxicity, and by setting and protecting boundaries, you can create the healthy, balanced life you deserve. Emotional intelligence, EI, often referred to as emotional quotient, EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence our own emotions and the emotions of others. It is a critical skill for navigating interpersonal relationships, particularly when interacting with toxic people. Emotional intelligence is not just about controlling your emotions, it's about understanding them and responding appropriately in various situations. When dealing with toxic individuals, responding with emotional intelligence can be the difference between escalating a situation and de-escalating it. It allows you to maintain your composure, protect your peace, and avoid being drawn into unnecessary conflict or drama. At its core, emotional intelligence consists of 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Let's explore how each of these components plays a vital role in managing toxic relationships and maintaining your emotional well-being. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It involves being in tune with your emotions, understanding what triggers them, and recognizing how they impact your thoughts, behavior, and decisions. When interacting with toxic people, self-awareness is critical because it helps you stay grounded and avoid reacting impulsively. Toxic individuals often seek to provoke a reaction, and they may use manipulation, guilt, or anger to get under your skin. If you're not self-aware, you may unknowingly fall into their traps, becoming emotionally reactive and losing control of the situation. Self-awareness allows you to recognize when you are feeling upset, frustrated, or overwhelmed. And it gives you the opportunity to pause and reflect before reacting. For example, if a toxic coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment, your initial reaction may be to respond with irritation or defensiveness. However, if you are self-aware, you can recognize that this comment is triggering an emotional response in you and take a step back to process your feelings before reacting. By doing so, you prevent yourself from being drawn into an emotional battle that could escalate the situation. Self-regulation, the second component of emotional intelligence, is the ability to control and manage your emotions in healthy ways, especially in challenging situations. It involves being able to pause, think, and choose how to respond, rather than simply reacting based on impulse or emotion. When dealing with toxic people, self-regulation is crucial because it helps you stay calm and composed even when faced with hostility, criticism, or manipulation. Toxic individuals often try to provoke emotional reactions by criticizing, belittling, or invalidating others. They may use guilt, shame, or anger to get a rise out of you. If you lack self-regulation, you might retaliate in anger, engage in petty arguments, or allow your emotions to get the best of you. Instead of responding impulsively, emotional intelligence teaches you to pause and ask yourself, what is the best way to respond in this situation? How can I remain calm and assertive without stooping to their level? Self-regulation allows you to stay focused on what truly matters, your peace of mind, and to respond in a way that aligns with your values. For example, if a toxic person starts to criticize you in front of others, rather than reacting in anger or defensiveness, self-regulation allows you to take a deep breath, control your emotions, and calmly address the criticism. You might say, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that's a fair assessment. Let's discuss this in a more constructive way. By choosing to respond calmly and assertively, you prevent the toxic person from further manipulating the situation or dragging you into a conflict. Motivation, the third component of emotional intelligence, refers to the ability to stay focused on your goals and maintain a positive attitude, even in the face of adversity. In the context of dealing with toxic people, motivation helps you remain committed to your values and priorities. Toxic individuals may try to distract you, derail your progress, or make you doubt your worth. They may attempt to undermine your success or create chaos in your life. Having strong motivation means that you are able to rise above their negativity and stay focused on what's important to you. It helps you resist the urge to engage in their drama or become consumed by their toxic behavior. Instead of allowing toxic people to dictate your emotional state, motivation keeps you grounded in your purpose. It reminds you that your goals, happiness, and well-being are more important than getting involved in conflict or seeking validation from toxic individuals. For example, if a toxic family member constantly criticizes your career choices or belittles your achievements, motivation helps you stay focused on your long-term goals and keep your energy directed toward personal growth. Rather than becoming discouraged or defensive, motivation empowers you to rise above the negativity and stay committed to your path. You understand that their opinion doesn't define your worth, and that their toxicity is a reflection of their own issues, not a reflection of your abilities or character. Empathy, the fourth component of emotional intelligence, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It involves recognizing the emotions of others and responding with compassion and understanding. Empathy is essential when dealing with toxic people because it allows you to see beyond their behavior and recognize that their actions are often a reflection of their own pain, insecurity, or unresolved issues. Toxic individuals may act out of fear, jealousy, or hurt, and understanding their emotional state can help you respond with more patience and compassion. However, empathy does not mean excusing or enabling toxic behavior. It simply means that you recognize that their actions may be coming from a place of emotional distress or dysfunction, and you choose to respond with understanding rather than anger or resentment. For example, if a toxic person is rude or dismissive toward you, empathy allows you to understand that their behavior may be a result of their own struggles or insecurities. Instead of responding with anger or frustration, empathy allows you to remain calm and avoid taking their actions personally. You may choose to address their behavior directly or distance yourself from the situation, but you do so with an understanding that their actions are a reflection of their internal turmoil, not your worth. Finally, social skills, the fifth component of emotional intelligence, refer to the ability to build and maintain healthy relationships, communicate effectively, and navigate social dynamics. Social skills are crucial when dealing with toxic individuals because they allow you to interact with them in a way that protects your emotional health while still maintaining civility and respect. Toxic people often thrive on conflict and chaos, and they may try to provoke you into an argument or manipulate the situation to their advantage. Social skills allow you to respond in a way that disarms their attempts and prevents the situation from escalating. For example, If a toxic coworker tries to create tension by gossiping about others, social skills allow you to politely disengage from the conversation or steer it toward a more positive direction. You might say, "I'd prefer not to engage in that kind of conversation." Or let's focus on finding a solution rather than dwelling on the problem by maintaining strong social skills. You set the tone for the interaction and avoid being drawn into the toxic person's drama. While each of these components of emotional intelligence plays a critical role in responding to toxic people, it's important to remember that emotional intelligence is not about suppressing your emotions or tolerating mistreatment. It's about managing your emotions in a way that helps you maintain your integrity, protect your peace, and respond thoughtfully and respectfully to others, even when they are difficult or toxic. Responding with emotional intelligence does not mean allowing toxic people to manipulate or control you. It means recognizing their behavior for what it is and choosing to respond in a way that preserves your own emotional well-being. It means recognizing your own triggers and patterns and being mindful of how you respond in challenging situations. It means using your emotional awareness to make decisions that are aligned with your values and goals, rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally. Emotional intelligence is also about recognizing when it's time to distance yourself from toxic people. While it's important to respond with empathy, patience, and understanding, there are times when the best way to deal with a toxic person is to set firm boundaries and remove yourself from the situation. Toxic individuals will often test your emotional limits, and responding with emotional intelligence means knowing when to walk away for your own emotional health. In the end, emotional intelligence is a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges, especially when dealing with toxic people. It allows you to stay grounded, maintain your composure, and respond in a way that is both respectful and protective of your emotional well-being. By developing your emotional intelligence, you can build stronger, healthier relationships and create an environment where negativity and toxicity cannot take root. You are in control of your emotions, and by using emotional intelligence, you can ensure that your peace, happiness, and sense of self are never compromised by others' behavior. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools for understanding and connecting with others, but when dealing with toxic individuals, it becomes a complex skill to navigate. The challenge lies in showing empathy without enabling harmful or destructive behaviors. Many people find it difficult to strike this balance, particularly when they feel a deep sense of compassion or responsibility towards someone who is toxic. It is crucial to recognize that empathy doesn't require you to accept or tolerate poor behavior. Rather, it allows you to understand the emotional or psychological factors driving that behavior while still maintaining firm boundaries that protect your own mental health and well-being. Empathy, at its core, involves recognizing the feelings and perspectives of others and responding with understanding and care. It allows you to see beyond someone's behavior and acknowledge their internal struggles, fears, or pain. In the context of toxic relationships, empathy provides an opportunity to humanize the person, even if their actions are damaging or hurtful. However, showing empathy does not mean excusing, enabling, or condoning their toxic behavior. There is a crucial distinction between understanding why someone acts the way they do and allowing them to continue harming you or others. Toxic individuals often exhibit behaviors that stem from unresolved emotional wounds, insecurities, or past trauma. They may act out of fear, jealousy, anger, or frustration, seeking validation or control in unhealthy ways. In these situations, empathy allows you to recognize that the toxic behavior may be a defense mechanism or a cry for help. This awareness can help you avoid taking their actions personally, which is key to maintaining your emotional distance and safeguarding your own well-being. For example, if a toxic person lashes out in anger or criticizes you unnecessarily, empathy can help you understand that their outburst may be rooted in their own unresolved issues, such as feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, or past trauma. By acknowledging this, you can remain calm and not react impulsively or defensively. Empathy allows you to see the person as more than just their behavior, which can help you resist being drawn into a negative interaction. However, even as you acknowledge their pain or struggles, you must resist the urge to enable or accept behavior that is harmful to you or others. Enabling toxic behavior often involves tolerating or making excuses for actions that are unacceptable, with the belief that your empathy will somehow help or fix the situation. For instance, you might overlook a toxic person's constant manipulation, justify their behavior, or make excuses for them in an attempt to protect their feelings or maintain peace. Enabling can take many forms, from ignoring verbal abuse to continuously accommodating demands that violate your own boundaries. The problem with enabling is that it reinforces the toxic person's behavior and makes it more likely to continue. It prevents them from taking responsibility for their actions and growing or changing in a positive way. A key part of empathy without enabling is recognizing that while you may feel compassion for a person's struggles, you are not responsible for fixing them. No matter how much you empathize with someone's pain or difficulties, it does not mean you should bear the burden of their emotional or psychological healing. It's important to understand that you are not obligated to sacrifice your own well-being to support or save someone who is toxic. Enabling often stems from the desire to avoid conflict or to be the good person who helps others, but this mindset can be detrimental to your mental health and happiness. By continuously enabling toxic behavior, you are allowing the cycle of harm to persist and in some cases even intensify. A significant challenge in choosing empathy without enabling is understanding when to draw the line. Sometimes the most empathetic response is to protect your own mental and emotional health by limiting your interactions or creating space between you and the toxic individual. This may mean reducing the amount of time you spend with them, changing the nature of your relationship, or even cutting ties entirely if their behavior continues to be harmful. Choosing empathy without enabling can be especially challenging when the toxic person is someone you deeply care about, such as a family member or close friend. In these cases, empathy may involve acknowledging their pain while also recognizing that their behavior is harming both them and you. You can express your support and concern, but it is also necessary to set limits on what behaviors you are willing to accept. You can say something like, "I care about you and I want to see you happy, but I cannot continue to be a part of this toxic dynamic." This allows you to offer empathy without enabling the behavior that is harming the relationship. It's also important to practice self-compassion when choosing empathy without enabling. Setting boundaries and protecting your own emotional health is not selfish, it is an essential part of maintaining your well-being. Often, people who enable toxic behavior do so out of a sense of guilt or obligation. But the truth is that enabling toxic behavior ultimately harms both you and the person you are trying to help. When you recognize that your needs are just as important as theirs, you can begin to make choices that protect both your emotional health and theirs. Ultimately, the key to choosing empathy without enabling is balance. It is about recognizing the humanity and struggles of others while also respecting your own boundaries and emotional limits. It is about offering understanding and compassion without sacrificing your own well-being. It's about recognizing that empathy does not mean accepting harmful behavior, but it allows you to understand where that behavior comes from while still maintaining healthy boundaries. By learning how to show empathy without enabling, you can navigate toxic relationships in a way that protects your peace, respects your needs, and fosters healthier, more balanced interactions. Walking away is often seen as a sign of strength, not weakness, though this perspective is often overlooked. Many people believe that in relationships, whether personal, professional, or casual, staying and persevering through difficulties demonstrates commitment, loyalty, and resilience. However, sometimes the most empowering and constructive choice you can make is to walk away. This is particularly true when you find yourself entangled in toxic environments or relationships that are damaging to your mental, emotional, or physical well-being. Walking away is not about giving up or abandoning people or situations. It's about knowing when to protect yourself and make the decision that prioritizes your health and happiness. It is critical to understand that walking away doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or acting out of anger or frustration. Instead, it is about exercising self-care and choosing peace, recognizing that remaining in a toxic or harmful situation does more harm than good. It can be incredibly difficult to walk away from relationships that hold emotional significance or from situations that you've invested time and effort into. Whether it's a friend who continually undermines your confidence, a family member who consistently crosses boundaries, or a toxic workplace that drains your energy, walking away can feel daunting. But when you realize that your peace is priceless, walking away becomes not only necessary but an act of self-preservation. The first reason why walking away is essential is because it allows you to take back control of your life and your emotional well-being. Toxic relationships often manipulate or coerce individuals into staying in unhealthy situations, convincing them that they don't deserve better or that they need to fix or change the other person. These types of dynamics can slowly erode your sense of self-worth and autonomy. When you decide to walk away, you reclaim your power, your voice, and your emotional space. Walking away also enables you to create the space necessary for growth, healing, and self-discovery. It's difficult to grow when you're constantly surrounded by negativity or toxicity. When you remain in a situation that drains you emotionally or mentally, it's challenging to focus on personal development or find peace within yourself. By walking away, you create room for healthier, more nurturing relationships and environments that foster your growth. It can be a profound act of self-love because it signifies your commitment to your well-being, setting the tone for how you want to be treated moving forward. A significant factor in choosing to walk away is the recognition that toxic people or situations are often unchangeable. People who display toxic behaviors, whether it's manipulation, emotional abuse, disrespect, or constant negativity, rarely change unless they are willing to do the deep work required to alter their ways. Unfortunately, this is not something you can control. Despite your best efforts to help, support, or reason with them, toxic people will often continue their harmful patterns, dragging you down with them. Walking away allows you to accept the reality that you cannot change others. The only person you can change is yourself. It's about understanding that no matter how much you care about someone, you are not responsible for their healing or growth. You are only responsible for your own actions, choices, and well-being. Another reason walking away is often necessary is that it gives you the clarity you need to see things from a fresh perspective. When you are emotionally invested in a situation, it can be difficult to see the situation objectively. Toxic people, particularly those who are close to you, often cloud your judgment with guilt, manipulation, or emotional blackmail. When you remove yourself from the situation, you begin to see it more clearly. You are able to detach emotionally and assess the situation for what it truly is. Walking away grants you the opportunity to reflect on the dynamics of the relationship or environment and whether it truly serves your needs and well-being. It's also important to recognize that walking away doesn't mean that you're giving up on someone or something forever. It simply means that for the time being, or perhaps indefinitely, you need to take a step back to protect yourself. Time apart from toxic people can lead to healing and insight, both for you and for the other person. Sometimes walking away is the best way to allow someone to come to terms with their own behavior or to let them see the impact of their actions on others. By removing yourself, you create a boundary that forces them to confront their actions, which may encourage them to reconsider their behavior. But even if this does not happen, walking away is still a powerful form of self-care that allows you to maintain your own peace of mind and dignity. Moreover, walking away is necessary when the relationship or situation is detrimental to your mental and physical health. It's easy to dismiss the impact of toxic relationships, especially if you've been in them for a long time or if you've normalized unhealthy dynamics. But these environments can be incredibly draining, leading to heightened stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, or digestive issues. In extreme cases, toxic relationships can even lead to long-term psychological damage. Choosing to walk away from these environments is an act of self-preservation. It's about recognizing that your health is more important than maintaining a facade of harmony or loyalty. Walking away can also teach you valuable lessons about boundaries and self-respect. Many people stay in toxic relationships because they lack strong personal boundaries. They may fear confrontation, rejection, or loneliness, which makes them tolerate unhealthy behavior. By walking away, you set a clear boundary for yourself and others. You demonstrate that your peace and well-being are non-negotiable and that you will not tolerate mistreatment, disrespect, or manipulation. This act of setting boundaries empowers you and serves as a reminder that you deserve healthy, respectful relationships. It sends a message to others that you will not allow yourself to be disrespected or harmed, and that you have the strength to walk away when necessary. Sometimes walking away is necessary because you have outgrown the relationship or situation. As individuals, we change and evolve over time, and so do our needs and values. A relationship or environment that once seemed fulfilling may no longer serve your needs or align with your values. This can be a difficult realization, particularly if you've invested a great deal of time, effort, or emotion into the relationship. But staying in situations that no longer align with your goals, values, or personal growth can hold you back from reaching your full potential. Walking away allows you to move forward and embrace new opportunities that are better aligned with who you are now. One of the most profound aspects of walking away is the personal empowerment it provides. Making the decision to walk away from a toxic situation is an incredibly empowering act. It signifies that you are no longer willing to settle for less than you deserve. It reflects your belief in your worth and your refusal to accept behavior or circumstances that are harmful to your emotional or mental health. The moment you choose to walk away, you are actively taking control of your life and your future. This sense of empowerment can lead to greater self-confidence and a renewed sense of purpose. It's essential to acknowledge that walking away is not always easy, and it often requires a great deal of courage and strength. There may be feelings of guilt, fear, sadness, or even loneliness as you remove yourself from a toxic relationship or situation. There may be pressure from others to stay, or you may question whether you are making the right decision. These emotions are natural, but it's important to remember that your well-being must come first. No one else will take care of your emotional health if you don't prioritize it yourself. When you walk away, you may also experience the discomfort of letting go. Letting go of toxic relationships or situations can feel like a loss, and it can be painful to part ways with people or environments that once played a significant role in your life. But it's important to view this as a necessary step toward healing and growth. By walking away, you create space for healthier, more supportive relationships to flourish. You open yourself up to new experiences, perspectives, and opportunities that will allow you to thrive. Walking away is also a lesson in self-worth. It requires recognizing that you deserve more than toxic relationships or environments that drain your energy and diminish your sense of self. It's about acknowledging that you are worthy of respect, kindness, and healthy connections. Walking away from toxic situations sends a message to yourself that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. It helps you build resilience and reinforces the idea that you are in charge of your own happiness and peace. In conclusion, walking away is not about quitting or giving up. It's about making a conscious decision to protect yourself, prioritize your well-being, and create the space necessary for healing, growth, and personal fulfillment. It is a powerful act of self-love and self-respect that allows you to reclaim control over your life and your emotional health. While walking away may be difficult, it is often the most necessary and empowering choice you can make. In the end, it's a reminder that your peace, happiness, and health are worth more than any toxic relationship, environment, or situation. When you choose to walk away, you are choosing to invest in yourself and your future.